Hello everybody, welcome back to another reaction video. Today we are going to be looking at Celtic versus Racing Club, the Battle of Montevideo. So remember like 2 years ago, some of you might remember, I did a documentary. This is the second random football documentary I've done. I watched a 100-minute documentary about Nottingham Forest in the 80s about 2 years ago. This is about the 1967 Intercontinental Cup, which took place between Celtic, who won the European Cup that year, and Racing Club, who won the Copa Libertadores. How do you pronounce it? It's Libertadores? I think that's it. I think that's how you say it. I might be butchering it, but I might butcher a lot of stuff during this. So this went over 3 legs because they were tied after 2. With the final being in Montevideo, Paraguay, or was it Uruguay? Uruguay, I believe it was. Yeah, Uruguay, that's where it is. And apparently it was pretty chaotic. I didn't look for too much info just because I want to see exactly what the chaos was for the documentary itself, but apparently it's pretty chaotic. Shout out, by the way, to Hail Mon the Hops, who uploaded this onto YouTube 14 years ago. His YouTube channel has been dead for 13 years, but he did have a Celtic forum called hailhailmonthehops.proboards.com, which was active up until January of 23. So his forum just died, which, damn. That's a shame. But yeah, that was the last time anyone posted on his forum. Was that long ago? But yeah, he uploaded this in 3 parts with some crazy ass old school Windows Movie Maker transitions as well, which is incredible. I edited them together. You still might see some of them crazy transitions during this though. But yeah, it's like 28 minutes, so let's go ahead and watch this.
The gaiety out of this city today. After the most disgraceful game in football history, it
became involved
in a running street brawl.
A street brawl?
Oh, and all's done as though he'd been full legs.
We were intimidating the wrong crowd because we were intimidated all our life.
Oh, look at that slide.
That was the football. That was just, it was total hooliganism.
Crazy crowd.
You can only tease and prompt people so long. We didn't lose the plot and stop playing.
And became involved in a running street. Celtic are bitterly ashamed because they descended to their opponent's level over the years.
I was absolutely amazed at the way these guys kicked you and spat on you.
I should also note, as you can see in top right, this was broadcast on Celtic TV. So this is not exactly being told from an unbiased point of view. But, just something to keep in mind, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, I'd never experienced anything like that before.
Oh, he's what was that? Oh, whoa, that guy pulled back quick.
I thought we won the World Cup Championship. I was really disappointed getting beaten.
Hold on, let's see it again. He was going to do something until he turned around.
I was really disappointed getting beaten.
He pulled up quick.
Disappointed in thousands of miles away from home, couldn't get home, and it was really disappointing, really.
That was crazy. Oh shit.
Just went in for thuggery, and they went in for crime, really. I mean, it was just, they just didn't care which way they were going to win. They were going to win it any cost.
Celtic lost their heads and lost the great reputation they have built up over the years. They were wrong to retaliate, but by God, there are reasons, if not excuses, for their behaviour. Make no mistake, this was not football. This was war.
This is about to be dramatic as hell.
1967, and the East End of Glasgow revels in the international football spotlight. Celtic are the first British club and the first non-Latin team to become European champions.
Really?
Jock's
Fun
team's
fact.
entertaining mix of controlled aggression, attacking flair, and Glasgow gallousness has taken on and beaten the best at home and abroad.
Our dressing was always a great dressing room to be in. Players loved each other, we got on well, training was always great, so it was a great place to go and train and work. People actually work, I suppose. It was a great place to be.
He did foster the idea that playing for Celtic was something that was important. He didn't need to do it an awful lot because the team believed that anyway.
Oh, that was nice.
Everybody thought, we're invincible. We're sitting in the top of the world. Who's going to knock us off?
In the remarkable year
Famous
that's
last
seen the
words.
first ever clean sweep of domestic trophies, there's still one more mountain to climb. Now the champions of Europe must challenge the cream of South America for the title of undisputed World Club Champions. For a group of players born within a 25-mile radius of Celtic Park, it's a journey into the unknown.
We knew we were animals because, Alf Ramsey called them that the year before. Apart from that, I didn't know anything at all because in those days there was no television coverage of South American football.
Jock did try and go to see every team before we played in the European Cup and came back with a great layout of how they played and everything else.
He organised a couple of games with the South American side, one Peñarol and Nacional, both from Uruguay as it so happened, to give us some experience of playing against South American players.
We're that used to seeing Brazil playing this lovely football, and then you saw Chile and the Argentines just flashes, and they said, oh, it's a different game altogether there.
Celtic's opponents are record breakers in their own right. Winning their 6th Primera title in Argentina, Racing Club lose only one match in 38.
Damn.
Typically, the celebrations in the barrio of Avellaneda are long and noisy.
I can tell just by looking at it.
Armed police are on hand in case the enthusiasm turns into a riot. But as Celtic are soon to find out, most of the violence in Argentina
Also, the barrier just being barbed wire is crazy.
Round 1 of the World Club Championship draws more than 100,000 to Hampden Park on a cold autumn night. It sets the tone for what's to follow.
Praise these great-hearted Celts. They're halfway to their starry aim of becoming world champions, and they deserved their victory. Deserved it because they never stopped fighting, never stopped making great moves, never gave in against a defence that was the most rugged anyone in Scotland has ever seen.
Martin, the captain.
Like I said, not exactly an unbiased point of view.
Oh, and all's done as though he'd been poleaxed. Martin disclaiming any knowledge of what happened. And again, the goalkeeper's in the middle of the scene.
They just wanted to kick us and spit and spoil, and European teams coming to Glasgow who tried to stop me, but not the way they tried to stop me. It was disappointing because they were a better team than they should.
The tactics they got up to were just alien. You just couldn't believe it. You were standing, somebody come up and whack you. You're going, oh. Or just run their studs down the back of your leg, and remember spitting. That was filthy, wasn't it?
Yeah, spitting's fucked up.
In this match. Oh, look at that.
I feel like spitting on somebody is like the most disrespectful thing you can do.
One thing you could never do with Jimmy Johnson was intimidate him. As a matter of fact, he put that down as a weakness when somebody tried to intimidate him. And then he became more and more arrogant. He was a magnificent player and he turned people about. And sometimes you could see players look for help because they didn't even realise where they were. They were in a spin, they were dizzy with his ability.
Well, there's Jockstein. He's told his players.
Had him in the spin cycle.
Play it cool.
He just picked up the ball. The first opponent, rumph. Big Jock used to encourage him to do that. And he was brilliant at it. Now, they probably had never seen a player like that before. And they were, I don't think if they knew how to handle him. And the one way they started handling was just having a kick out.
So they whooped his ass.
Hughes taking the corner.
Just as he's done throughout the European Cup run, Celtic's inspirational skipper leads by example.
Oh,
they had appreciated that I could maybe put the ball in the net at that end for corner kicks and for free kicks and things. And it was a tussle with him, fella, and I got away from him. And when I got away from him, I scored the goal. Brilliant.
I don't know what he said to the Racing Club defender.
It's very difficult. What they tried to
Not
do
good, I
was
imagine.
break up the game. So when we got the opportunity, I had to let them know that I was delighted with it.
Racing weren't at Hampden to treat Scottish fans to glorious football fancies. They were here with a purpose: to destroy, to keep Celtic out at all costs, and they nearly succeeded. Now Celtic face the toughest match in their history in Buenos Aires.
At time up, we went in the dressing room. I mean, we were high because we knew we were going over there to play. But at that time, Sir Robert Kelly, I don't think he was too keen to go over there and play when he seen the treatment that we got in Scotland at Hampden.
I think that we were waiting to say, hey, Keys, after that game, I think you're going to South America. We were waiting in FIFA just saying, no, you don't need to go.
I thought we could beat anybody. I was really confident the guys that played around about us were good defenders, good midfield players, and guys that could score goals. I thought we could go there and win the game, not and come back with the World Club Champions like we did.
I met a priest on the plane who didn't speak any English and was Portuguese, and I didn't speak any Portuguese, so we conversed in kind of pidgin French, and he told me that with Racing Club we had a chance. If it had been Boca Juniors, there would have been no point in getting on a plane because their fans would just have stopped the game if they were getting beaten.
You both knew
When
French.
we landed in, I mean, the place looked terrific. We got in the coach and away we went towards the hotel we were in, and it looked lovely. It was on a golf course, and then all of a sudden there was something went wrong with the allocation of rooms, and we, I think, must have got the staff rooms, to be quite frank with you, and Big Jock went mental.
I mean, remember, it was like Berlin's.
That was one of the transitions.
Looking for each other. But he goes to the girl and he says, listen, I've got to tell you that there's been a few stories that they're going to be putting some kind of thing women round about the hotel and maybe in your rooms and that, you know. So just watch yourself. That was another tactic, wasn't it? Because the boys were never out the rooms waiting on us happening.
There was never any welcome shown, in the sense when we went down to the ground for training, it was very Spartan. There was nothing. There was no cups of tea laid on. There was no pots. There was nothing done to make it a sort of friendship game.
Tension is high before kick-off, and Ronnie Simpson is an early casualty. Scotland's Player of the Year felled by a missile during the warm-up.
Whoa.
I don't think anybody saw what happened because we went on and the game was almost ready to start. And as I said, I was looking for a ball with the commotion. And as Bobby's pulled me out, I'm getting dragged off the bench. And I'm going onto the field and I'm saying, where am I going? And Ronnie's walking by. I don't know if it was nearly at Bob Rooney, holding the back of his head. And I'm saying, and I looked and I just looked up at this big stick. What am I doing here?
That was a real blow because that put an apprehension in every one of us. Make no mistake about it, that was something that was serious. None of us had ever seen anything like that in our lives before.
To this day, I believe there was one of the photographers, because there's no way that someone could throw a coin from the ground. There was a huge mesh thing behind the net and get it through that mesh and just over the bar to hit him, with such force.
I remember looking and what's wrong with him?
Could have been, I guess.
About 6 inches, a scar at the back of his head.
Or it could have been a really good throw.
The blood was running out of him.
Curiously enough, many years after the game, Ronnie told me that he was perfectly okay to carry on. It was Jock Stein who said to Neely, get him off. Maybe Jock Stein was looking for a bit of an excuse if we did lose or something like that. Anyway, John Fallon came on and actually played very well.
That was me. On you go. Let's see. I went, oh God's sake. And I must have stood in the penalty spot all game. I was afraid to go back. Bar for corner kicks or taking a goal kick, and the atmosphere behind that goal was horrendous. They're just baying for blood.
We were sitting
On
in a low some Argentinian supporters up there, or racing club supporters up there, and they were urinating all over everything.
Oh.
So we weren't expecting anything.
As an ask.
In fact, they just went out the window, didn't it? I mean, it was just absolutely notorious. It was like a battle.
Celtic failed to win here this afternoon.
Music's a bit loud.
But no Scottish team has ever shown greater courage. This experience showed what big hearts, what skill the European champions can call with.
I always thought we had a good chance because, you know, we felt our ability was as good as theirs, and we felt we had the players that could create things. What we hadn't really paid enough attention to, really thought enough about, was the refereeing was absolutely incredible.
Of course it was.
I mean, you talk about home referees, and it does happen where a referee does
actually
favour
surprised we didn't talk
one
about the
team
ref
a
at this
bit against the other, but never anything like this refereeing.
It's
in
always the
Buenos
referee.
Aires.
Yet it all starts so well for the Celts. After 22 minutes, Jimmy Johnston, as brave as a lion, tempts the goalkeeper into a rash challenge. Tommy Gemmell sinks the spot kick.
I mean, it had to be a real stonewaller to get a penalty kick in South America against a South American side. But at that time, of course, the away goal didn't count as double as it does nowadays. I mean, if it had counted double, we come back as World Club champions.
2 goals up on aggregate, the world title is well within Celtic's grasp.
Maybe they realised they suddenly had to start playing a bit of football because they were now 2 down, and you know, they had to come back a bit. But they started stringing back together and proved that they could play a wee bit of football.
Rowed on by 100,000 fans squeezed into the President Perón Stadium, the stand-in keeper is beaten 10 minutes before half-time by Raffo.
Gotta give credit to the people constructing that stadium.
The right-hand side over Billy's
For all those people to be in
head.
there.
And I'd be standing about the penalty spot,
Jammed
as I
in there,
said,
that
because
shit,
I wasn't for standing inside
Explode.
the 6-yard line. And I was just standing, and the ball came over, and this bloke standing himself, and I let the ball go forward, and I was off my line, and as I went like that, he just, big chip right into the net.
We claimed for offside. It wasn't a case of maybe he was offside. It was a case of how far offside was he, whether it was 10 yards offside or whether it was 12 or 14 yards offside. And that was it. And by that time, we had seen the frustrations that happened, we'd seen everything. They did everything they could to annoy us, and it worked.
Yeah, it worked.
True to Jock Stein's philosophy, Celtic carry on attacking, chasing the goal that will guarantee the long journey to South America has been worthwhile.
We've made a few chances, but not very many. I think we were a very nervous team.
It's Racing who eventually make the breakthrough. The equaliser is scored by Chango Cardenas. The striker will return to haunt Celtic in the playoff. But on the team bus, the immediate concern is escaping Buenos Aires and Racing's excitable fans.
Came into the bus, and there was this rabble around the bus. You can only describe them as rabble. Beyond the rabble were mounted police who weren't paying the slightest attention to the rabble, who were chanting this sort of song about their coach. And then they started getting hold of the bus, and they started rocking the bus from side to side. Now, I mean, I was getting serious by this point. I mean, I don't mind, you know, I'm happy to compete for Celtic. I was going to lose my life for Celtic, to be quite honest. And this bus was rapidly, you know, vibrating from side to side. And I've never found out who this was, but somebody shouted from the back of the bus, "Boss, oh, for God's sake, give him the cup." And it was exactly how I felt at that moment. You know, I'm willing to do a lot for Celtic, but I'm at my limit.
You know, if we had just played that game and just said, "Oh, here, forget it, you just keep it, we're away." Is that not right? We would have been quite happy with that.
I believe Celtic can win the title in the third game, if it goes on in Montevideo on Saturday. There has never been a more disgraceful start to a match of this stature. I'm sure Celtic will, in the end, play the game to a finish, for they feel they can win in a neutral country, but they are right to demand justice.
The board want to go home, but at Jock Stein's insistence, Celtic cross the River Plate to play the third and deciding leg in neutral Uruguay. Privately, many of his stars also have misgivings, but they're overruled. Only one man makes the decisions in Steen's dressing room.
Behind the scenes, the board, I don't think were all that fussy about playing a third game because they were more concerned about maybe the players overreacting a second time. There was a bit of us, there was a few, retaliated.
Oh no, he got on videotapes.
They wouldn't take a genius to work out in the third game. They were all
got any lost Doctor Who episodes?
The manager would want to play. I think the chairman wasn't. I'm not 100% sure, but as a player and in our group, we were wanting to play them. We thought we could beat them.
You played to orders. The jock said that was it. You went.
It was a new experience. It was a great experience. It was Celtic breaking ground that nobody else, no other British team had broken, and he wanted to do that.
The third game was a nothing game, wasn't it? There was so much going on. Police on the field, people fighting. I mean, it was just one of the game of football, wasn't it?
Before kick-off, Celtic lose the public relations battle. They parade a Uruguayan flag around the pitch to a fairly lukewarm reception. Unaware that the Argentinians, out first, have been flying an even bigger flag.
Fuck!
It's the first defeat of the day, but not the last.
They had a bigger flag!
In the 3 games of the so-called World Championship, we haven't seen 10 minutes of football. It's over. Celtic have lost a tie, and they have disgraced themselves in Scottish football. There can be no excuses. Celtic came down to Racing's level and engaged in a running street brawl with their vicious opponents.
First to be sent off is the most unlikely candidate.
There can be no excuses. Celtic came down to Racing's level and engaged in a running street brawl with their vicious opponents.
Went back a little bit.
First to be sent off
There we
is the
go.
most unlikely candidate, Bobby Lennox.
Bro died.
It's clearly a case of mistaken identity, as the cameras catch John Clark squaring up to the Racing defenders.
There was an incident, 2 or 3 incidents early in the game, and the referee called the 2 captains together.
He backed up
and said
quick.
to Billy, the next incident, 8 of the Greens and 6 of the Blues will be off the field. And a few minutes later, the boy had a kick at me, Jimmy, in the centre circle. There was a bit of a fracas. Everybody got involved, and I was put off. I went off the field, and the big jock put me back on. Said it wasn't me to get back onto the field. The referee put me off again. The big jock made me get back on again, and then the guy came over with a sword, and I just left the field. Thank you very much.
Next, it's Jimmy Johnston's turn. More sinned against than sinning as he attempts to shrug off yet another Argentinian assault.
I think honestly, that wasn't football. That was just, it was total hooliganism, definitely.
No complaints about ordering off number 3. John Hughes' temper boils over in the searing heat of the Estadio Centenario.
The crazy thing was
pulled back
that
quick.
when I got up close to the goalkeeper, there's 80,000 there, television cameras there, but what came into my head was, if I hit this guy, nobody will see me. It sounds crazy. And when Big Jock after it in the restroom, he says, what were you thinking about? I was stupid enough to repeat it to him, and you can imagine what he said to that.
Yeah, the ball.
Bertie Auld takes umbrage at another niggling foul and lashes out. He refuses to leave the field. The Paraguayan referee has lost control and he knows it.
He refused to lift?
Armed police try to calm the situation, but Auld stays where he is.
I said, I don't understand what you're saying. Now that shows you how strong he was, because he had already sent a couple of other players off, which was wrong. And here again, it wasn't the players that was causing it. I remember Murday, God rest him, picking up one who was faking injury, and Bobby picking him up with his actual feet and dragging him to the sideline to get the game carrying on. But this shows you how weak the referee was.
In the confusion, unseen by match officials, Tommy Gemmell takes his own revenge on one opponent.
I
think his name was Ayala, I'm not too sure, but I think it was Ayala. And he came right across the defence and spat in every one of our faces. Now, I mean, you don't mind somebody kicking you, but for someone to spit in your face, I mean, that's
okay.
not
That's
allowed.
the second hour. I was like, I thought you kicked him just because.
I'm afraid I'm going to have you. So I hit him one almighty kick in the goalies, and what a scream he let out. I put his family jewels up his back for a hump.
I mean,
somewhere in the mayhem that's the second half, Racing score what proves to be the winner.
Oh!
The referee was shocking. I know you should never say this, but that referee was bent. There's no doubt whatsoever about that in my mind. None whatsoever. He knew exactly what he was doing. He knew exactly he had to favour the Argentinians, and he did that. But we lost the place, and once you lose the place, then you're not entitled to any respect.
Celtic's world title dream has ended in a nightmare. 4 Celts and 2 Racing players have been sent off. The heroes of Lisbon are pilloried for their part in the Battle of Montevideo. The beautiful game has never looked uglier.
Well, those guys swap shirts.
allowing us to play. Jimmy would have tore them apart.
Well, I've never seen Jock so low after the game. He was absolutely bereft after the game, you know, and the following day when we left to come back to Britain, he was sitting at a table in the restaurant and eventually put his head on the table and cradled his head in his hands. And to see him like that was really a shock to us all. It must have been a really serious part of his life for him to react like that, you know.
If this is World Championship football, it should be banned right now. I have never been so ashamed of this great game of ours as I am now. And I am sad Celtic also became soccer thugs, but not surprised. So, what happens now?
What happens hurts the Celtic players more than any Argentinian boot or elbow. Chairman Bob Kelly is so ashamed he imposes unprecedented fines of £250 a man. At the time, the European champions are earning £30 a week.
Ouch.
We were not very happy about it. I must confess, my own case, I asked to see the chairman. He wouldn't let me see the chairman. And he asked me what I was going to speak. I said, if the fine, you know. Because my argument is going to be, Mr. Chairman, I sincerely hope that you have been fined, and Mr. Steen has been fined, and Mr. Fallon has been fined, because the decision to play the third game was taken not by the players, you know. That was going to be my argument. Naive as it sounds.
I think they said, we beat Indeed Saturday before we went to Uruguay or whatever, Argentina, and they said we're taking the bonus money off you. A bit of a shocker. I thought it might have been a week wages when we were sitting about the table that day.
I knew that we had to get something had to, but he could have ridiculed us in the dressing room and kept it in the dressing room. But to take the money off us, what he did, I thought that was a wee bit harsh.
The directors, they had seen what was happening. They knew what was happening. They had seen the conditions in which we had been forced to play the third game, and it was a game that should never have taken place.
Surprisingly ripping the club a new asshole
the
here.
most professionally dirty team I have ever seen. Sinisterly cold and calculating in their fouling. And what angered me more than anything else was Celtic players exchanging shirts at the end with these prancing, arrogant caballeros. Yes, I am bitter. This was not football. This was war.
People will talk to me about the Argentinians and all that. I said, I fought the Argentinians before the Falklands. And they just laughed at you and said, when was that? I said, the Battle of the River Plate and the Battle of Montevideo.
The music mixing in this was crazy.
I look back at it, it's not a fond memory. I just disappointing. As I say, I think we could have beaten them. If we played them again, we would have beaten them. But that's easy to say, you know.
have to add the medal. And I think we were good enough to win it and give them the opportunity.
Yeah, they might have killed you if
But
you
we were
won.
never given the opportunity to play.
At the end of the day, when I look at the results, I see it was still only 1-0 in that third game when we were down, you know, technically to 7 men. I know Bertie didn't leave it back, but technically we're down to 7 men. And, you know, we should have managed to maintain our equilibrium.
Under the modern rules, the away goals count double, we would have gone home with that trophy. And probably that would have been better for us because the third game was just an absolute disaster.
2005, that was produced. So the music mix during that was crazy. Is that actually how it was broadcast? I mean, I can understand the Scottish accent a bit better than I could years ago, simply due to the amount of Scottish shows that I watched. But if I didn't say as much during that, it's because there was times where I'm like, I really have to focus on what they're saying because the accent is strong, and also I can barely fucking hear them because of the music. So, I really had to fucking focus on what they were saying. Because holy shit, dude. The mix was crazy. It was very crazy. As far as the thing itself goes, again, not exactly an unbiased point of view, although I was surprised at the end that basically the whole end was basically just the players shitting on the club, pretty much. And that surprised me a little bit, although I suppose they deserved it. But it did surprise me a little bit. But for the most part, it definitely wasn't unbiased. Not saying that, and not saying that it would have been, you know, presented much otherwise if it was unbiased, because it did seem like the Argentinian club was pretty, you know, I mean, it was spitting in people's faces and shit and all that. Like, at first when he's walked over and kicked that dude in the dick, I was like, what the fuck? But I mean, like I said during that, I feel like spitting in somebody's face is probably the most disrespectful thing you can do to somebody, you know? Like, I can't think of anything more. So, I mean, you know, face spit for a dick kick sounds like a pretty even exchange to me, you know? Or a dick kick for a face spit, I should say. But yeah, thank you to Shed for using your points on that. I appreciate it. If you want to see more random ass football documentaries in the future, let me know. That is it from me today, though. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you guys for watching. If you liked the video, be sure to leave it a like. If you didn't like it, don't. If you want to follow any of my social media links, they're all in the video description. All names on my Patreons. You didn't know, you can be Patreon me for as low as $1 £1 EX direction videos, as well as reading comments up to air and sometimes more. Of all being said, though, my name is Stafford Steen's been my reaction to Celtic versus Racing Club, the Battle of Montevideo, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.